come to lying down on your mat comfortably. And if it's comfortable, have your legs long. Of course, you can always have them bent if for any reason you need to do that. Just take a moment to notice how the floor comes into your back. And noticing your breathing. And from this very stable position, could you begin to roll your head to the right and to the left? Not to see how far it turns, of course, just to assess how comfortably you can roll the head from right to left. And how can you, and throughout this lesson, the theme, if we give it a theme, is how can you make the movements just the way you want them to feel? Just the way you want them to feel. And so if you have one side that feels really easy, you have already something to compare the other side to. And as you continue rolling your head to the right and to the left, listen for a very subtle sensation through your heels that might be telling you that one leg might be getting longer, or one leg might be getting shorter as you roll your head from the right to the left, from the left to the right. And could you enhance that? Could you enhance that leg lengthening or leg shortening in such a way that it's almost as though lengthening one leg, shortening the other leg is what's somehow is what's turning your head. It's what's helping your head to roll, almost like pulling a string that's connected from your heel to your head. And then drilling down more, listen to the changing weight across the back of the sacrum as one leg lengthens just a wee bit and the other leg lengthens just a little bit. What is the sensation in the back of the pelvis? Would one knee be more easily bent as you roll the head one direction and then the other? Which knee might be easiest to bring away from the floor? And which direction is your head turning? Is it when you turn your head towards that leg or towards the other? Pause and let's play with it a little bit differently. Stand your feet. Stand both your feet so that they're in that comfortable place, separated, balanced, and free. And again, begin to roll your head right and left, staying in your comfortable range. And listening again to the back of the pelvis, the weight of the pelvis on the floor, and the pressure of the feet into the floor. And as you roll your head one direction and the other, is one foot pressing more into the floor than the other? The knees stay balanced, they don't tilt, but you might have a sensation of one knee going away from you. You could even enhance that by pressing into the floor in such a way that the knee goes away from you like a lever. The legs are levers. and listening to the movement that creates in the pelvis and in the spine and in your rib cage. And how might this support the movement of rolling your head from right to left? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that doesn't make sense to you yet. And we're just experimenting with different ways of mobilizing our head in ways that other parts support the movement of the head. Other parts of ourselves draw the head into action and support the movement. And then please take a rest. And then could you come to sit? You can sit in a chair or you can sit on the floor and sit in a way where, if you can, with the soles of your feet together and leaning back on your hands. So you've got sort of a frog leg situation. You're leaning back on your hands. The fingers are pointing away from you. And if you can't have the legs out like a frog, of course you can have them any way you like. And from here, can you hang your head forward and then raise it to look forward in the room? And do that several times. And as you raise your head to look forward, could you have the feeling of lengthening through the whole spine? As the head lowers, because you're leaning back on your hands, your spine has a chance to begin rounding backwards. And then as you bring the face to look forward at the horizon, you have a chance for the chest to lift and come forward. And where do you find the support for the spine? Through the hands and the arms and the back. So we're bowing the head forward and then bringing it erect. And is there any movement in your pelvis as you bring the head forward? Could you think of bringing the pubic bone and the chin closer together? And then, as though drawn by an elastic in the back, the chin and the pubic bone come away from each other, and you look forward, and you could even begin to look up. Even begin to look up. But only if you feel that there's an equal distribution through all the vertebrae of the spine, and not just hanging the head back and crunching the back of the neck. So the pelvis can tilt under and the head can lower, and then the pelvis can rock forward and the pubic bone can go down towards the floor. And feel the spreading, the opening of the chest, the closing of the vertebrae of the back, and lifting the head to look up. And take a rest down. Take a rest down. And as you're resting, could you stand both your feet and interlace your fingers and bring your hands behind your head? The elbows can be wide and resting on the floor. And can you carry your head from the right to the left by bringing one elbow closer to one side of your pelvis and then the other? So you're folding your spine from side to side. and you're carrying the head in such a way that one ear comes closer to one shoulder, and then the other ear comes closer to the other shoulder. You can guide your head with your hands, but you're using also your spine and the pressure of one foot into the floor and perhaps the lever of one leg going away from you. I don't know how you will arrange it, but can you get behind the movement of the head sliding from side to side and tilting? Can you get behind it with your entire self? You might even notice the knees beginning to tilt one way or the other. So listen to the relationship of the back of the head to the back of the pelvis as you continue to slide the backs of the hands across the floor, carrying the head. The neck has no work to do here, or very little. It's taken care of by the rest of you. We're giving the head a little vacation. And then give that a pause. You can straighten yourself out and take a rest. Then could you come and roll onto your right side? Have your right arm out in front of you and take hold of your head with your left arm. Wrap it around the top of your head in such a way that you can lift this heavy bowling ball away from the floor a few times. So find a way where you're holding your head and you can just lift the right ear away from the floor without involving the neck. But what else would you involve? So have the knees drawn up in front of you so you have more stability. And just lift and lower the head. Lift and lower the head. And notice how you breathe. And lift it in the way that you would like it to feel. So it doesn't have to be a large movement. And listen through the rest of yourself, through your entire spine. Pausing as you need to. And then could you begin to carry your head around in a circle? So one way to think of this would be to take the elbow in a circle, and because the head is attached to the arm, the head will be carried in a circle as well. So it might be easier to keep track of how round your circle is by paying attention to the elbow. The hand is carrying the head. The hand is carrying the head. And you might experience a bit of rolling. How are your ribs involved? And let's take a rest from that.
Which plane is the circle in?
Which plane is the circle in? The circle of what? The elbow or the head?
Yeah. Are we circling the face forward or?
Okay, so let's experiment with this in sitting. Let's experiment with this in sitting. So come to sit, and let's break it down a little bit. Lower your head towards your chest, and then raise it towards the ceiling. Just that forward back movement, forward back movement. So look down and look up. Look down and look up. And you can do it not leaning back on your hands. You can do it leaning back on your hands. You can try a few times one way and then a few times the other. And we're going to drill down. This is a long way around to answer your question. But notice as you raise and lower your head, is there a tendency as your head goes forward or as your head goes back for it to deviate away from the center line? So, for example, as you tilt the head backwards and you look upwards, does the neck work more on the right or on the left? Does the back of the head come closer to one shoulder blade or the other? Does your forehead, as you lower the head, does it come right to the middle of your sternum, in line with your sternum? Or does it seem to turn or tilt in one direction or the other? It's much easier to lower the head forward than it is to raise the head and look up. And now could you lean back on your hands? Lean back on your hands if you're not already. And could you take your head forward and then describe an arc? Sort of like think of swinging the head slowly towards your right shoulder so that your right ear comes over your right shoulder. And then you can go forward, and then the left ear can come over the left shoulder. Which would mean in order for the ear to come over the shoulder, the face will not turn. But you could get underneath it with the shoulder, and the torso could turn. Did we all see the musical Hair?
No.
Okay, well then we can't use that as a reference. Did we all see the movie Wayne's World?
No.
The car scene.
The scene in the car, yes, that would be the forward back movement. I would not recommend doing that. So think that you could be beginning to swing the head forward and up and swing the head around. And you grow taller as the head begins to swing around over one shoulder. You grow taller. And then you can let the head hang and swing around the other way. So now, complete that circle. You've got a half circle going on, so could you go all the way around to the back? Just 2 or 3 times. And when do you find the support from the floor that helps the whole spine support the head as it's going back? So the whole spine can round and the ribs are involved. Now, could you drop back and lean on your elbows and make a couple of circles from here? How would you support the head as you're looking up? Could you bring the chest forward? So don't let your head hang so far back that you couldn't get it back. How might your ribs? How might your collarbones? How might your upper back participate in this circle? And rest down. You're almost there, so just drop down onto your backs. And come again onto your right side. And wrap your left arm around your head. So you take hold of your right ear with your left hand somehow. And begin to carry your head around in a circle in such a way that if you had a laser pointer coming out the top of your head, it would draw a circle on the wall across from where the top of the head is pointing. So the elbow is also making a circle. The ribs are making a circle. You might even notice your pelvis getting involved, and we'll work on that in a moment. And then could you reverse the direction of your head? Reverse the direction the arm is carrying the head. You've got a circle being described from the top of the head, but there's also a circle being described through space by the left elbow. If the elbow makes a very round circle, then the head will make a very round circle as well. And please come onto your backs. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Alice.
Good. Now just check in with your head. If you roll it to the right or the left, is that feeling any different? Is it feeling more like you would like it to be for yourself? And then come on to the other side. Come on to the other side and arrange your legs comfortably drawn up, one on top of the other arm out in front of you. And hold of your head. And just lift it from the floor a few times. Lift it from the floor a few times. With your top arms. Really snug your head up against your arm and lift it a few times. And so you can determine if you're really on your side. How do you find support from the floor to lift the head? Now on this side, let's try a little bit something different, sort of a mermaid version. Could you tie in your imagination, could you tie your knees and ankles together as though you were a mermaid or a merman? And there's a wonderful group in San Francisco called the Mermen. A band. They only play at the Ocean Beach Chalet. Anyway, could you lift both feet away from the floor? Lift your flippers. And then lift your knees. Lift your flippers, and then lift your knees. So notice that this requires a bit of rolling from the pelvis. Now, since we're just kind of experimenting with this, yeah, some of you are still holding onto your heads. No, that's where we're going with it. But we have a merman-mermaid couple over here. It's just going to play with this movement of the knees lift and the feet are on the floor, and then the feet lift and the knees are on the floor. And let your top arm be on the floor in front of you and help support this rolling. And notice when the ribs come closer to the floor. Nope, keep your feet down. Keep your feet down. There, yeah, Jeannie. Yeah, there you go. So when you lift the feet, the knees go down and you roll towards the front. And when you lift the knees, yes, there you go. The pelvis rolls towards the back. So the pelvis, is it the knees and the feet rolling the pelvis, or is it the pelvis that causes the action of the legs? And listen to when the ribs press into the floor, and when might the ribs come away from the floor? When might the ribs come away from the floor? Take a rest on the back. Someone has a cricket in their house.
I'll find out.
Can you hear a clock ticking?
No, I hear the cricket.
Or else it's just too noisy.
Very boisterous cricket. Come on to your other side and let's find our inner mermaid. So the knees are together. Knees and feet are together in your scaly, beautiful, shiny body, and begin to roll the pelvis forward and back in such a way that the feet come away from the floor, and then the knees can come away from the floor. And when might you employ your rib cage? When might you lift your head? And when might you lower it? Would it be when the knees come away from the floor? Would you lift the head or would you lower it? So let's help the head with the other hand, since the head is so heavy. Wrap your top arm around your head and just lift it from the floor a few times. Lift it and set it down. And lift it and set it down. And as you set the head down, could you think of pulling your ribs away from the floor somehow? Like making a bridge, like a chipmunk could run underneath your ribs. And what does that invite your pelvis to do? And as you lift and as you lower your head, listen to the relationship of the head to the rib cage and the head to the pelvis and the rib cage to the pelvis and the rib cage to the head. And when might your knees come away from the floor? And when might your feet come away from the floor? When the head is lifted or when the head is lowering? So you may be starting to discover that this is not a movement that's just a side bend. There's a side bending and a rotation happening in the spine. These elements of rotation and side bending and flexion and extension. Take a rest on your backs. Come again to sitting with the soles of your feet together and leaning back on your hands. And now can you lower your head and attach your chin to your chest? Or if it doesn't attach, then just keep a relationship there. And begin to take your head in a circle, but don't let your chin leave your chest. So the top of your head, the chin does not leave your chest. So your chest has to make the circle. So if the top of your head were to describe a circle, but it's fixed. The head is fixed against the chest, and you're leaning back on your hands. There you go. There you go. Somehow the back. Lean back on your hands. Stephanie, lean back on your hands. Even more. There you go. Now, keep your chin attached to your chest. So the chest, the whole back, the upper back is circling and carrying the head. It's not going to be a large movement. It's not going to be a large movement. The spine is making the circle, and the head is attached to the top of it. Take a rest on your backs. Roll your head from side to side. And coming in to sit with the soles of your feet together like a frog, leaning back on your hands. And hang your head forward and round your spine backwards and begin to take your head to in that sort of slow pendulum-like movement over to the right, and allow your pelvis to tilt to the left so that your left knee goes down to the floor. And then as you let the head sort of swing down in this pendulum-like movement to the other side, the pelvis rocks and the other knee comes down to the floor. So your pelvis is going to be, you're going to be coming from one sits bone to the other. It's not raising one knee and then raising the other. It's actually rocking onto one side of the pelvis and then onto the other. So if there was a stick in between your knees, keeping them separated, that stick, the distance would not change. The pelvis has to rock. And when might you grow taller? As you come around, as you bring the head around one ear, the head swings around and one ear comes to look at one shoulder. And then the head can swing forward and to the other side, and the shoulder comes forward to come under the head. So it's not the face turning towards the shoulder. It's the face staying forward and the head making an arc. And one shoulder has to come under the head, which means you have to press into the floor and open one shoulder into, bring one shoulder blade closer to the spine. So as you continue to experiment with this a little bit longer, as you swing your head over the right shoulder, could you bring that shoulder blade closer to the spine and lift the chest? Lift the chest. Lean back on your hands. If the hands are getting tired, let's come back onto the elbows. And try the movement from here. The legs are apart, the feet are together so that you can, the knees are apart rather, sorry. And you can rock the pelvis from side to side. Tilt your knees, tilt the triangle so that one knee comes down to the floor and the other comes into the air. And as you're passing through the middle, the head can lower. And as one knee comes in towards the ceiling, the head can roll around that shoulder. Let's take a rest on the back. Come onto your stomach. Can you have your hands on the floor like the Sphinx? Like the Sphinx on either side of your head. And place your head on the floor, and could you look down and draw the forehead along the floor as though you wanted to draw your head underneath your body, which means that the back must round. And then lower the chest to look forward. And play with that a couple of times. Drag your head along the floor so that the lower back, the spine has to lift away to make room for the chin to come underneath you. And then go the opposite direction. And then lift yourself up on your elbows like the Sphinx, like the Sphinx. And as you lower the head, as you hang the head and bring the chin close to the chest, can you pull the chest away from the floor and hollow the chest? And then as you lift the head to look forward and up, can you sink the chest towards the floor? and arch the back. So feel this movement through not just the upper back, but through the whole spine. What's happening in the front of you? What parts of you find support from the floor? What parts of you lift away from the floor or get lighter as you lower or as you lift your head? And feel how much your upper back is involved. Yes, very nice. Very nice. Take a rest on your backs. Coming in to sit, but lean back on your right hand behind you. Have your right knee open to the side like a frog and stand your left foot on the floor so the knee is vertical. Good. Now wrap your left arm around your head. Take hold of your right ear. So we're very asymmetrical. The right knee is resting on the floor. The left foot's pushing into the floor. You take hold of your head from around the top, and begin to circle the elbow, which means your whole spine. And in this asymmetrical situation, how might you employ the floor? How might you employ the pressure of your left foot standing on the floor to help not just your head make a circle, but your entire spine is involved. And the pelvis, the right side of your pelvis, is also making a circle on the floor. It's describing a circle on the floor. Like our pelvic clock, our famous pelvic clocks that we do, so often you're making a clock circle with the right side of your pelvis against the floor, and your spine is undulating. This is really a fish-like movement. There's a lot of undulation here. Open the right knee and lean in such a way that you're on your right hip. And then can you reverse this? And listen to the relationship of the pelvis to the head, the ribs to the head, the ribs to the pelvis. So these three balls, the head, the rib cage, and the pelvis, are all circling somehow in relationship to each other. It might not be clear, one or two of them yet. Keep taking the elbow in a circle. Leave the right knee on the floor. And add that constraint. The left hip can come away from the floor. It has to. There we go. Ah, the penny dropped. Okay, let's take a rest.
Okay.
come to sit on your other hip with your left leg open, your left arm out to, let's bring the left arm out to the side. I think it might be easier. Bring your left arm, lean out to your left side. Yeah, there we go. And stand your right foot. Stand your right foot. And wrap your right arm around your head. And now simply tilt your head towards your right shoulder. And feel what happens. And then bring your head towards your other shoulder. And tilt your head to the right and tilt your head to the left. So when your head tilts to towards the knee the foot that's standing, you tilt your head to the right. You're leaning on your left hand and the left knee can be on the floor. Then as you tilt your head the other direction to the left and bring the elbow up towards the ceiling, the pelvis can rock and the left knee can come away from the floor. So there's a side bending, there's this fishy side bending. And the head tilting, because the arm is attached in the way it is, it's like the pelvis is almost being dragged away from the floor as you tilt the head to the right. And then as you tilt the head to the left, the knee can be, as you're leaning on your left arm, keep your left arm straight. Oh, and we have Jeannie experimenting with a circle. This is lovely. Remember, you make the movement the way you want it to be. So it might not be a big movement. You might need to rest frequently. You might need to find a different situation. I'm sensing something in your hips. CD, maybe just rest your top knee on your other leg. Just rest your knees together. Yeah, there you go. And now take your head around. Try taking the elbow in a circle, keeping the hand attached to the other side of the head. That's nice. Now, if you were a fish, if you're a mermaid, how might your flippers come away? Might they come away from the floor? Might the knees come away from the floor? Okay, I'm seeing torsos starting to wake up. Lovely. Back starting to express the circle. So this is the bathing beauty moment. Oh yes, this is the playing cards from the 50s. Lovely. With little seashell bras, remember those? Okay, take a rest on your backs. One last time, come to sitting with the soles of your feet together, the knees apart, and leaning back on your hands. And can you simply raise and lower your head? Bring your chin towards your chest and round your back. And then finding support from the floor through the arms and the pelvis. Can you, oh, nice. Can you lift the head and look upwards and support that by lifting the chest. The chest emerges and the shoulder blades come together. Excellent. And go forward and back and feel the whole spine rounding in a uniform way. The pubic bone coming closer to the chin, and then the pubic bone driving down towards the floor, leaning back into your arms and finding the support through the mid-back, lovely, and lifting the chest, becoming narrow in the back and wide in the front. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Good. Take a rest down on your back. And sense how you're contacting the floor. How does the floor press into you now? And if you were to lengthen one heel away from you and then lengthen the other heel away from you, might it cause your head to roll from side to side? You feel that connection. Feel what the spine is doing. Feel what the ribs are doing. If you were to lengthen one arm and then the other, which one would it be to help the head roll from side to side? And then leave it and just rest. And then simply roll your head from side to side and right to left and feel if it's a little more like you would like it to be. And then bring yourselves up or not, bring yourselves up onto your feet by rolling through your side and engaging with the floor in a way that you come up to stand on 2 feet. Or not. And sense now how your head is balanced on top of your spine. And if you shift your weight from right to left and the pelvis glides, you listen to the feet. Is it more symmetrical? Does the head come with you? If you turn your head to the right, to the left, to look to the right, to look to the left, is it easier to see? Is there more of you involved in looking around yourself and scanning your environment? Even though I can only see the bottom half of some of you, I can sense. You don't need to change it. I can sense. Some of you at the beginning were just turning your head and nothing else was involved. And now I see a lovely, when the head moves, it moves through you all the way to the floor. And you could even, as you turn one way and you turn the other, if you lifted the opposite heel a bit away from the floor, it might enable you to see a bit further. Just by disengaging the heel, the head, the eyes pull the heel away from the floor. Okay, lovely, you guys. Great. We'll call it good.